All right, we're live. Sorry for the delay. We were having some technical issues getting all of our screen sharing stuff going. Welcome to the stream. Today I'm joined by Tomas, and we're going to talk about the new HashiCorp Vault integration in Loft. We're going to show it here on the screen in a minute. We're going to go through a demo. So Tomas, it's Tomas, right?
Up
I would
to
say
you.
Thomas. In the US. Tomas worked on implementing the feature and also created a walkthrough video that's on our YouTube channel. So if you want to see a quick walkthrough, you can check it out there. But today we'll do a little bit longer of a form video and talk about some of the ideas that went into making it and why Tomas wanted to add this. I think this is something you wanted to add in, right? Like you came in, you started, you're like, hey, I want to add in Vault integration, or is this something that was on the roadmap previously?
It was like a mixture. So when I joined, I've had plethora of ideas, and as it turns out, even a lot of the ideas have already been in planning and in works. So it was more of a, hey, I have this idea, and then it's like, yeah, we'd like to have it. Go and work on it and have fun, and that's how it all started.
So why don't you introduce yourself, Tomas? Maybe
Sure.
your background or your software developer.
Yes. So I'm Thomas Krzyzewski. I'm a senior software engineer here at Loft. I've been working on implementing the Vault and a couple of other things that are going to be upcoming soon, and that have also been released. So things like DevPod and future things to be announced. And prior to joining Loft, I've worked in a major German enterprise and had the privilege to experience what data privacy and data security is all about and where the focus is put on. And that's sort of also the intention of why I wanted to provide this integration or build it. And well, outside of work, I just enjoy running and making music and listening to it.
Oh wow! All right, so do you want to bring up the Loft UI maybe, or bring up
Yes.
some VS Code?
Let me just quickly start it. Otherwise, yeah,
And
I'll
then
do it. I'll do it a bit hackish. Wait a second.
okay.
We'll do it the
Here, I can let me remove your screen until you got it set up, and then I'll add it
oh yeah,
again.
sure.
And we don't have to worry about accidentally showing like login info or anything like that.
Oh no, that's all fine. I'll just use a preview environment.
Sounds good.
So the
All right, so let me know when you're ready to go. I'll add it back.
just give me a second. So
Okay.
the main bits of Loft having an integration into HashiCorp Vault, and especially in to say external secret area, is mostly focused to enable teams that might consider it already have it in place to make it just much easier to integrate into Kubernetes, into virtual clusters, into spaces, into anything that is going to be upcoming soon. To be able to utilize that secret store that you already have outside of, let's say, your common areas to work with or to make your life easier. It's sort of like the glue code that you would usually have when setting up environments yourself, which means third-party tools, let's say Vault secrets operator or external secrets, or anything that really comes in between. And this is a way of Loft basically saying, hey, let's just pull those things in. Let's just make less burden on anyone who's operating who's operating Kubernetes clusters at scale, who's operating vClusters at scale, and to basically say, hey, let's just make it easier for you. Just add an annotation or two, and it'll be fine. So that's basically what this entire thing is sort of built upon, or the entire behind it. And just triggered a create for a preview environment with a Vault, so it should be there in a couple minutes.
Okay, awesome. So this is the second integration we've added. The first one was Argo CD, or at least it shows under integrations.
Yes.
Is there? I can't say about future like roadmap stuff. Is there something that's maybe not on the roadmap that you're interested in building for an integration that you'd like to see while we wait for the?
There are so many things. Like, look. I'm the wrong person to ask. Like, I would build a lot of stuff, but you know, there's like product, there's people that's planning. But I think in general, the magic behind Loft, which I mean, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, you had the stream of Carl where he went through Argo and how you can integrate all of that, and that's sort of like the magic code for Loft, or like magic platform, magic glue code, however you want to call it, that basically enables you to make things within Loft and make them easier. more scalable without having to reinvent the wheel yourself. And I think that's oftentimes where the value is lying in, and what I'm mostly focused in to enable you this seamless, almost cloud vendor-like experience where you just click on a button or configure it once, and then it just works and it's there, and you don't have to care about it, and you just update one thing, and everything else is taken care of. So that's sort of the plan or the goal where I want to take things and what kind of features I would like to work on. But it always depends on where you want to take things. Well, at outside of that,
I'll say the Vault integration is something that people have been asking for, though, too, right? Like I think a couple people were excited about seeing the new video and the documentation on it after it came out.
Yes. Wait, let me pull up the docs real quick.
Okay.
While it's still loading.
Let me add the video to stream yet?
Oh yeah, sure. Wait, no,
right.
that's not the email. Loft.sh/docs.
All right, I'll bring it up.
Right. So the entire idea is that it enables you to not have to run external secrets operator in every single vCluster that you have, and that it also enables you to basically synchronize secrets from a vault into global secrets. Because in Loft, you've got this concept of a project secret and of a global secret. So the entire idea is you can say, hey, I want to take care of access control for my global secrets that I want to share with projects. Let's say you've got an Elasticsearch cluster, or you have got some API keys for Datadog or some other logging solution where you would like to just log ship your data and you don't really mind. You just say it's one project, one credential. There is one team who's responsible for it. So you just dump it into global secrets. Now, if you have some other kind of systems like a Loft, maybe you've got something like, I don't know, Doppler, AQLS, open source solutions that allow you to do that. You oftentimes run into the problem of gluing it all together, of bringing it back, because one problem is that all of those systems are disjointed, so to say, because they have been created for just being themselves. Right, so Kubernetes has been created to be an orchestrator. It's not opinionated about how you need to do networking. It's not opinionated about how you do containers. You can do kata containers. You can do normal containers. You can do Docker, CRI, whatever. You're free to do. And all of those products are sort of in a vacuum, where in itself they are great, but if you try to put them into your stack, it gets complicated and it's time consuming, and then you have to deal with all of that. And so what is possible with the Vault integration in Loft right now is to basically just say, hey, like, this is where you can find my token for my Vault, and I would just like to have this secret, right? So you just add 3 annotations, and then Vault will take care of everything. Loft will take care of everything, of fetching your credential, of making sure that it's up to date, of making sure that the credentials that you have in Loft are also the ones that are in Vault. And quite frankly, it can make your life easier in regards to also audit logging, in regards to access controls. Because let's say you've got systems where you need to be SOC 2 compliant or ISO, whatever. Oftentimes you want to have a secret store that is safe, that is secure, that you can host on-prem, that you can host anywhere where you want. Because in life science and in healthcare, you've got those regulated environments. So what you can do now is basically have your store and then just have Loft take care of the rest. Because oftentimes you just want to be like, hey, so this is a production workload. It's supposed to have the production API keys that rotate every 24 hours. And with this, you can just say, yeah, so this is the KV2 engine where it's stored. These are the secrets. Just rotate them. Let me see if Loft is finally started.
It's this way. It helps with self-service, so you don't have just like developers reaching out all the time for this information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the idea is basically that you can say you have a local Vault installation. You just say, this is the path where my KV1, my KV2 secrets are, and the application is supposed to fetch it. Or sometimes you can also be in an environment where you say, I don't even want to integrate into a Vault, and I just want to have environment variables. So what External Secrets has been doing in the past is saying, hey, I'll just pull them into a Kubernetes secret for you, and then you can use it in your application. And that's great. And External Secrets is huge. And what they're basically doing is a Kubernetes controller that reconciles the secrets with annotations, fetches data, puts it in a secret, done. And you can do exactly the same with Loft, but without having this one special dependency, one extra dependency that you have to maintain and take care of. And then additionally to that, you can now also do the same for global secrets, because previous to this integration, you would have to write your own controller, your own mechanic to basically fetch data from Vault and put it into a global secret, because it's a custom resource definition. It's not a Kubernetes secret. So you have to do your own glue code for that. Come on. It's going to load soon. It's
coming up.
It's coming up.
There's like live demo, having to rebuild it real quick right before.
As is tradition.
Yeah.
It always works like that. 100% of the time, it never works.
All right, I'll remove it again until we bring that up. Let's see. So I got some other questions here. So basically, this is like the first thing you wanted to work on when you started here. So we'll kind of go into some of your background. This is the first thing that you saw that you wanted to work on, instead of like some other feature set that you came into, or did you work on something else right before you started working on this?
So before I joined, I had a lot of ideas, and
Yeah.
I wanted to work on all the things, and I wanted to make them super polished, etc. But the funny realization is, it's oftentimes not about being super polished, but about being something and delivering something. And especially with Loft, it's all about being able to deliver quick and deliver big. And that's basically something that I'm very excited about. I mean, as you've seen with DevPod is like, it's great. It's basically fixing this one gaping issue that you always had with development environments, with hosting it yourself, with moving data around, and suddenly it's there and it fixes your pain that you might have had. The same goes for Loft and the things that I wanted to work on. And another upcoming thing that's going to be there in a couple of weeks is also something that I really wanted to work on and got to share my opinions. But I guess you'll have
see that
to
soon.
wait. I think you'll see soon. Everyone will see soon.
It's going around release. We'll have a video, and then maybe we'll do another stream too and demo it.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. All right. So why Vault? Were there other alternatives or anything you considered, or anything like that, or
yes,
is this like more widely used, I guess?
So the question about Vault or not to Vault is, especially in the Kubernetes space, either a idiomatic question or more like a religious question, and there are pros and cons. So initially, when looking at like, do I want to store all my secrets in Kubernetes or not in Kubernetes, that is like one question. And then the second one is, which solution would I pick if I do not store it in Kubernetes? So to like go to the first one, should I store my secrets in Kubernetes or not? Well, that's the only way to have secrets in a Kubernetes native way. And that's like the standard, and like all your secrets are stored into etcd, and that's great, or at least into a database that is behind Kubernetes. But this can also have drawbacks, because the more secrets you're going to have in your cluster, the more secrets you're going to have, the more load you put onto your database, and the higher the chances that it's going to get unstable or that it's going to get slow. So the more tenants, the more applications you put in, the more load you're putting onto the API server, onto all the controllers running within the cluster, if they do not have specific labels onto what resources they're watching. So suddenly your entire memory and CPU usage of the, let's say, platform components within your Kubernetes clusters are also growing. So if you're like potentially hitting into scaling issues or have those requirements to not store it right next to your configuration in Kubernetes, you start looking for stores where you can store it outside of Kubernetes. And well, as we're sitting here, Vault is sort of like the, I would say, de facto standard, even though there are a lot of things that might not work within Vault and that other solutions do better. So when looking at like HashiCorp Vault, it's like the open source solution that exists out there. So outside of Vault, there's like Aquilus with their SaaS solution, and Doppler, which are like the two biggest SaaS offerings currently that go into the direction of secrets management. And they're doing a great job. They're like picking up, they're making it much more accessible for developers to integrate their application into it, and to have a secure way of storing your credentials. But as with all SaaS and cloud solutions, no matter how much certification you have, etc., you trust the other party. And I mean, it's like the same with, I don't know, with 1Password, with LastPass, with KeePass. When you get the choice between storing your credentials in LastPass or in KeePass, and then suddenly LastPass is breached, you have a problem. So the higher and the more you get regulated, the more you look into trying not to put everything into a SaaS. Solutions are great. The SaaS nature kind of can be like defeating. And then you've got other alternatives. Because you can not only have to go to SaaS startups for storing your credentials, but you can also stay with, let's say, AWS. And I mean, AWS is or GCP or Azure, and AWS has got Secrets Manager, Azure has got Key Store, Key Vault. I'm not sure anymore. So all of those cloud providers have got some kind of credential vaulting solutions, but those solutions aren't so much focused about how to store and provide access to your secrets, but they are more focused on integrating with the cloud providers' offerings. So, for example, with AWS, if you spin up an RDS database, there's a native integration to put secrets into the AWS Secrets Manager when you provision the database, right? But there is no way to do that into any kind of other secret store, because it's AWS selling you AWS. So in some sense, when you start using those cloud vendor secret stores, they can be great for the thing that you're going to be using them with. But the moment you try to be vendor agnostic, you suddenly lock yourself in.
Mm.
And then there are open source solutions. I mean, there's, I think, InfiniScale or comparably. And those are solutions that are focusing on creating open source secret stores that you can just plug and play into your application. That there's a simple REST API. And those are great. But when you're trying to build your business around them and there's no support, or there's only a cloud platform, you're sort of getting back into the area of, well, so it takes off or it's going to be great, and then it breaks, and suddenly me, as somebody who's building an AI startup with OpenAI and ChatGPT, has to suddenly start fixing a credential manager that I've been using to secure my application, even though I don't want to focus on that and just ship my application. So it's sort of like the middle ground that the bigger enterprises are looking for, having something that is extendable and open source, but also supported, or where you can buy support in addition to whatever you're using it for. And that's sort of like where HashiCorp Vault has come on top of, because you can just start with the open source version. You can integrate it. It's free. It's nice and dandy. You can create plugins for databases that you have. You can create custom authentication methods, custom secrets engines. You can just customize that entire thing. And where it like really starts shining is that for all of those things that you have, you can just pay HashiCorp money, and they will help you in case of emergency, right? That's like a support plan. So you can have your cake and eat it too, just not going to have the money to pay for the cake anymore. But
Yeah.
when it comes to that, it's sort of like the thing that you want. I mean, want in like quotation marks, because you have this open source solution, and you also kind of support it without being necessarily vendor locked. Because with a vault, it's created by HashiCorp, and HashiCorp is not a cloud vendor. They're not going to lock you in. They might try to lock you into their own solution, but you're not locked into moving to other cloud vendors, for instance, or to moving on-prem.
That makes sense. All right, cool. You want me to add your video back? Did the demo environment come up?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's still spinning up. What the heck? Right.
Would you want to look at the docs? You want to bring the docs up? It doesn't look like there's a...
Oh, yeah. The docs, yes.
All right, let me add back. All right, we can look at the docs again for a minute while we wait for it to finish out.
So, what was it? Just secrets management, cloud.
You talked about global secrets, and then you talked about like
Yes.
You talked about the annotations.
Yes. So the way to synchronize your secrets for both global and project secrets remain the same. So when there's a Vault Loft UI, you just go into the UI and click on the form that you have, and you can just fill it out. If you want to do it the GitOps way, or the correct way, don't quote me on that. You just add annotations to your shared secret or to your project secret, and that's it. And everything else is taken care of in the background. So with projects, there's a project specific configuration for getting secrets from Vault itself. It could be set up by your administrator. It could be set up by your team that is responsible for identity and access management. And then you just plug it into your project, and all the secrets that want to get something out of Vault will get it out of Vault. And then when you start using it more and more, you can then also start using it together with the secret sync that already exists. Because what the Vault secret sync does is pull secrets from Vault into Loft, and the secret sync is then distributing those secrets from Vault into spaces or into vClusters. So at the end of the day, you get this chain, so to say. It's not referring to LangChain or LLMs, but you basically have got this chain where you can say, get me the secret from Vault, or let's say from another solution. If somebody approaches us and says, hey, could you integrate AWS? Sure, we could integrate it. And then you can utilize those secrets again with the secret sync as any other secret that is within Loft. So the main advantage basically becomes that you can do stuff within Loft and stay vendor agnostic, in the sense that you do not have to do anything else than just use Loft, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then you're managing all this stuff with like RBAC and stuff, right? Like, so the share, I saw the RBAC on, or I saw permissions on the Vault secret, but then you're just using project RBAC and stuff to give access to these.
Yes. So it works in the sense that when you have got your Vault token set up, you just plug it into the project or into your global configuration when you're a Loft admin. And everything that the token is allowed to fetch, they can fetch and synchronize into Loft. And everything else that you do within Loft, which means providing users with access to that secret, to that Loft secret, or to be able to use it within Loft, that is all managed with RBAC within Loft. That is pre-existing, and that also matches with Kubernetes RBAC for those resources.
Awesome. Let's see if the environment came up. It's slowly going along. You see if the environment came up, or is it still I see 404 not found. The reload work.
Still a 404. It's still starting.
Well, okay.
It's amazing.
It's coming up. We'll have the demo soon.
We'll be there soon.
And we also have, like I said, we have the video on YouTube too, if you want to watch. Like, I think it's like 3 or 4 minutes. Let's see. Let's go on something else after this then. So what? I know I asked it kind of before, but what would you like to see next? Like, is there actual thing that you'd like to integrate outside of Vault? Is there a different secret store that you'd like to integrate next, or think we start with Vault and then we move on to something else that people are interested in having integrated instead? Like,
so there are a lot of avenues and a lot of ways this can go to. So as we've seen a couple of weeks ago with Carl showcasing Argo City and how you can automatically enroll Kubernetes clusters into Argo, one could have something comparable like that in Loft, because in Vault you can have either a Kubernetes authentication method or a Kubernetes secrets engine. So with the authentication method, if a customer suddenly approaches us and says, hey, yeah, we'd like to have vClusters automatically enrolled, then we could provide you with something comparable to Argo, where we allow you to, by the click of a button, have a new vCluster enrolled as an authentication method. And then any service account and service account token that originates from this vCluster can suddenly authenticate against the Vault and have finely grained and finely scoped permissions within all of those secrets engines. So, for instance, you could just spin up a vCluster and everything within it, as well as Vault configurations, would already be set up for you by a template that your administrator might configure. In the same sense, something that could also come if somebody asks us for it is a secrets engine for Kubernetes. Because with, I think, Vault 1.17, 1.18, I'm not sure anymore, a new Kubernetes secrets engine has been introduced. And that can allow you to gain temporary access to Kubernetes. It connects to a Kubernetes within an admin account or admin service account token. And it then creates a new service account, provisions a token, and provides you with a kube config that is going to utilize the service account and the service account token. And then you can do operations for, let's say, 1 hour within the Kubernetes cluster. And after that, your access will be cut off, the service account will be deleted, and you don't have access to the cluster anymore. And that can be advantages for stuff like privileged access management, where you need to have a finely detailed scope of who did which operation on a cluster at one time, how they managed to get access to it. So those things can all be integrated with Loft, with vClusters, with Vault, if somebody asks us for it, of course.
That's an interesting use case. So like, what else would you use that for? Like, you probably wouldn't use it for something like testing or something like that. Like, I mean, you guess you could use it for Argo for a short period of time, but it'd be kind of weird to just keep on issuing tokens to Argo to connect and deploy something to test on. Are there any other use cases you think would be interesting for that? Or
so what you could do is just like with Argo, where you provision stuff and gain a cluster from it. You could as well do the same, but with Vault. So with Argo, you basically say, hey, you spin this up, connect the cluster, and spin up all the resources. Now, what happens is once those resources have gotten spun up, you might want to get them to connect to your vault and get your secrets. So
Tomas is logging in. I'll add it again in a second once you're in. All right, I'm going to add your video back here in a sec.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Right. So what you might want to have is sometimes when you connect to or create a new Kubernetes cluster, let's say you spin it up for CI/CD, you might want to test your application that it also works with Loft, because with Vault. If you create applications that directly communicate with Vault to obtain temporary database credentials, to obtain temporary cloud vendor credentials with AWS secrets engines, you want to be able to test it with the Vault that the same way that it's going to be running. So having, let's say, short-lived preview environments that are capable to connect to the Vault the same way that your production environment is going to connect to can be advantageous, and can also take off burden from, let's say, everyone involved. Because you can just spin up a vCluster with Loft and connect with DevSpace into it when you're developing your application. And then within DevSpace, your application will have the Kubernetes service account token or projected service account token, depending on which Kubernetes version you're running on. And then you can utilize that to authenticate against the Vault instance. So suddenly you have this fully integrated environment of the things that your application is going to be running in anyway.
Awesome. All right, demo time.
Yes, finally.
Let's see a demo. All right.
So this is basically the way that Vault looks like when you just spin it up in local dev mode with root access. And there's a secret engine called Secret with a KV2 configuration. And KV is basically key value. And it means we can just say that we have a let's say, global secret, and it is going to have a key. Let's call it Mike. And then there's going to be a very secret password that is definitely not password.
So is this the paid Vault UI, or is this just the?
No, that is the open source version.
Okay.
There's a fancy button saying to upgrade to Vault Enterprise. But no, this is completely free, open source. So now that we have the global secret configured in here, we can just go to admin and to config. And this is the part where we have to configure it using the, how's it called? Wait, let me just remove Grammarly.
Might see if you can zoom in a little bit too.
Yeah, I'll try. Let me zoom in. There you go. I'll just remove Grammarly. So this is the configuration that you would put in as a Loft administrator. You would basically say that the Vault is enabled. You would specify the address towards it in our demo environment or within our namespace. It's basically Vault, and then we have an authentication method. For this demo, I'm going to just inline a token, and the token in this case is just test123, and then we can just hit apply, wait for Loft to restart, and now we have just enabled a new engine for Vault. But outside of having to specify it in the configuration, which you might not want to do because it's not secure and you shouldn't do it, and it's only for demo or testing purposes, you would basically just utilize a token secret ref, which is a reference to a Kubernetes secret. And then you could say Vault token, which is basically showcased in secret sync, how to create the secret. No, it's in here. How to basically create the secret that is called secret containing token in the Loft namespace with your base64 encoded Vault token. And then you could reference it using the token secret ref. But for now, I'm just going to stick to what we have with the inline token.
So, there's no configuration on the Vault side, right? Like Vault side just is like you've got your token and your information to connect to it. You haven't actually done any special setup or anything. You just created the token.
That's it. So the token that we're utilizing for this demo is the root token, which means the token is allowed to do everything. In production environments, you would specify entities or groups, and then you would utilize authentication methods to grant access to Vault to obtain a token. So you could, especially in Vault, you can just say, hey, so I'm going to have different policies. In this case, we have a token one, and then you can create a new token based on that. And you could say this new token that I am now creating for this authentication method is going to have the following policies attached, or is belonging to this group, or is for this entity. And then based on that, they will have access control within Vault. So from the Vault side, it's the same as if somebody would connect from the Vault CLI or from an application, from external secrets, or from anything else, because it's just varying the standard Vault API with a standard token, which is completely compliant with whatever is out there.
Awesome.
So once specifying the authentication token and the address within Vault, Vault Loft, we can just go to Global Secrets, and once we click on Global Secrets, the UI has suddenly changed, because prior to that, we would only see this plain secrets section when not having Vault enabled. So let me just show that real quick, because the assumption is that if somebody is configuring to use Vault on a global scale, you will probably have secrets everywhere. So if you don't use Vault, it's just not going to show up. It's not going to be cluttering your mind. It's not going to try to upsell. But if you have that, it's just going to assume that you basically want to use it. So now we could just say, hey, KB2, and the path that we created for this is secret, because that's the name of the secrets engine. And the secret path is global secret. So dump that in. I click on Save Changes, and there we have a key. It's called Mike. And if we look at the secret and we look in here, we can see that it's password. So now we can also see that the status has been last synced at this time. And now we can just use it as any other secret. So if we go to projects and project secrets and create secret, can just say, hey, just utilize this global my secret and create a secret, and there you are. Right, and to make it easier to distinguish.
And you can control permissions right on who can add global secrets, like admins, and so not everybody can go in here and just add them or modify them or see them here. They're going to see them somewhere else. Yeah.
So let me just create a new user for that. It's going to be you. Congrats. Okay, never mind. Going to use up your invite.
And then just to show like what it looks like to an end user.
Oh, it has to be more than 6. Smart.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what it would look like to an end user. You do not see any global secrets because you are not allowed to see them. You don't have any permissions. You don't have permissions to see users apart from yourself, and you see the project that you're allowed to access. But if we go in here, you see you're not allowed to.
Yeah, I haven't added to any groups or anything yet. I'm just in there by myself without anything.
Exactly. You're not even allowed to look at the data of the secret that is in here. So if we go back and we got you here, we can see that in here we have the secret, we have the integration, we've got all those things. And if we look at project secrets, we also got the secret in here. We see that it's you. We see that it's synced from a global secret. Now if we go into Vault and we add a new thing, we call it Thomas and we call it secure password because
super safe password.
Oh yes, super safe password with much hexer and a hashtag. That's how you do entropy. This is now stored in Vault, and that's just it for now, because the secrets engines are not continuously fetching the secrets engine. The Loft reconciler is not continuously fetching it, but it's fetching it on a timer. So the default sync interval is 15 minutes. If we want to lower that to, for instance, 1 minute, we specified in the configuration that we want to explicitly have 1 minute, and we click on apply and wait for Loft to restart. Now we can also, and now we see that the secret has been immediately synchronized into Vault because the secret sync has restarted again.
Is there a downside to syncing more often? Like the open source version, that's installed locally?
Yes.
So there's no like API limiting or anything like that. But then you might have are there API limits on the paid version?
No. Well, yes, it depends. It depends how you configure it. So you can do things like rate limiting. You can configure it for HashiCorp rate limit. Yes, so you can have resource quotas applied, but it is like more of a advanced concept.
It's more like an admin thing than it is like a paid thing, right? Like
yes. Because the idea is that the more secrets engine you would have, the more demanding they can also be. But what we see right now is like the key value store, which is sort of like configuration management, etc. But then there are completely outlandish secrets engine within Vault, where you can also say, hey, I would like to have SSH certificates generated, or Kubernetes service accounts, or AWS credentials, or access to my Postgres database, a new user in Azure AD. And all of those things can start adding up on load onto your Vault instance. So your idea as an admin would then be to say, hey, so how can I restrict this? How can I tone it down so that one noisy person is not going to impact everyone else who's trying to use this one shared Loft instance Vault? Damn, I need to
so
keep my words
straight. The platform people, if they create a secret, wait 14 minutes by the default before you send it. Wait 14 minutes before you send the email saying that the token or the secret's been created, right?
Yes.
But you probably don't want to. I mean, you could just swap it to a minute. It's probably not going to cause many issues. But as you grow larger, you might not want to put it down to a minute because that's going to be a lot of traffic.
So it depends to your business needs. You can say it's 1 minute, and then all your global secrets will be synchronized every minute. You can also just say my secrets don't change that often, and you can just have it to, let's say, 15 minutes. But if your secrets are rotating every 6 hours, refetching them every minute might not make a lot of sense. It might make more sense to just have it sync every hour if your secrets are changing 6 hours, for instance. So it really depends to your needs or to what you want to configure. Oftentimes systems can just rotate credentials every 24 hours, and if you just sync it every 12, you should be fine, or every 4, you probably will be fine as well. So it's entirely up to your needs. Also for enterprise users that have something like a Vault Enterprise, you can also specify your namespace, which means with this nice field, and then we can have team A or team B. And namespacing in Loft in Vault is basically a concept where you can say I have an entirely separate Vault within the Vault itself. But that is an enterprise feature. It is in there if you use it, but most of the time you're probably not going to have to use it. So apart from being able to just configure it globally as an administrator and pull your keys in, you can also just go into a project and say, hey, so I want to use Vault in this one project that I have. And in here, you can now say enable. You can also specify the same address. We'll select with this nice UI, the inline Vault token, and we're going to specify test 1, 2, 3. And here you can also
blow your nose. Like I know I've got my tissues here because it's allergy season. Time. Hold on, I'll drop you there so you can. 1 second. Go ahead. All right, we'll give Tomas a second. If anybody has any questions too, feel free to either add a comment on LinkedIn or ask in chat on YouTube or Twitch. We're watching the question section and stuff, so feel free. All right, let me add Tomas back.
Yes, perfect.
There we
Thank you. Right. So when configuring for a project, you now have this nice, let's say, wizard that you also have for Argo CD, because it's basically inspired by Carl's work. So you basically can just inline your token, your configuration. We can also now here configure that we want to have 1 minute. And we can just click on Save Changes.
So this is nice too, because if you've got developers or something that are using it and you don't want to do everything for them as a platform engineer, you can just give them access to this and they can use their own vault or something like that. They want to do testing.
Yes.
Like you don't have to have it at the global level and share. This is self-service.
Yes. So it goes in this idea that you as a platform team or as a, let's say, Linux cloud team in your enterprise, or as an identity and access management team, you can say, I have got my secrets in my vault that I am managing, or that is managed in a instance in HashiCorp Cloud Platform or anywhere else. And you just configure it as global secrets. And then every project can configure their own vault that they use. And they can still get your global secrets that are from an entirely different vault than their own vault. And finally, they will all end up in Loft and in Kubernetes and in all the vClusters, without you having to repeatedly write logic to do all of those things independently.
And then there's probably permission settings where you could say that you, like, certain projects can't use this. Like if you want to force vault usage at the global level.
Yes. So the idea is also that you can say, as a project, I do not necessarily want to be able to share secrets with others, but you can also say, hey, I would like to be able to share secrets, because let's say I create an API and it has an API key and I want to share it with everybody. So then you can also do that.
Awesome.
So what you could do now, once you have it configured within the UI, is just go to project secrets and create a new one. To this, let's create a new secrets engine that is independent of the other one. Let's just call this my project.
So this is just hitting the Vault like API. You can Can you create within Loft too, or is Loft just pulling?
Currently, Loft is only pulling.
Okay.
But it depends on your use case. If somebody approaches us and says, "Hey, I would like to have my Kubernetes secrets pulled into Vault," which is a valid use case with operators, but we'll get to that in a second. We are not going to tell you that we're not going to build it, right? It's just more of a that you just need to approach us and tell us. Because a valid use case is when we look at operators. There's like the Zalando Postgres operator. And what that thing does is you can create a database in your Kubernetes cluster and have it entirely managed. Or you can have something like Cloud Native PG, which is another great operator for running PostgreSQL in your Kubernetes cluster. And those databases will create a Kubernetes secret containing the connection details to get to your database. So if you're going to have the use case that you want to say, I would like to have those credential details within my Loft for my application to consume, or for third-party users to consume without wanting to give them direct access to Kubernetes, that can also be a future use case of this sync. But for now, it is just one way from Vault to Loft.
Trying to load up that backlog.
Thank you very much. This is how brainstorming works in this year.
All right, this is for the project. You're creating a new secret for it. All right, cool. So this is like a developer's doing this. Hey, I'm I need a secret. I'm gonna go create it my own Vault instance, and then I'm gonna
Or you can have something where you say, so I have project secrets and there's an API key, and then you suddenly have a new requirement where you just say, so okay, where you say I have now, I don't know, let's say an interface to AWS. And then you would be like AWS access key, and then some values, and then some secret key. You would have that also stored, let's say, in your secrets engine, in your vault. And you would then be able to say that anyone who's responsible for those AWS credentials would be allowed to update those credentials in your vault. And you can scope it down on an API level where you say that the cloud team is only allowed to update this one secret, or you can say that somebody who's responsible for, let's say, some HR tools updates the API keys for this HR tool within your vault, and everything else is then handled in the background for you. But you have a very detailed example of who updated it, when did they update, and especially with a KV2 secrets engine, we also have got the
so the benefit for the global too is that as the platform engineer, I don't have to tell people paths or anything like that, right? Because you've got a path, and I need to know the mount path to be able to add the secret.
Yes,
that's what global secrets are nice, because then I don't have to send out to anybody and tell them or describe how they set it up in their project.
Absolutely, and another advantage is you can also reduce your burden or your load.
Okay.
Because you can also just say these are the users or the teams that are allowed to do something with it, right? So let's just say let's get you in, and let's say you're allowed to view, right?
Another cool thing is if people look at the left-hand side, this is actually a YAML for creating this, so that you can automate some of this stuff, or you can edit it here, and then you can maintain this somewhere else if you wanted to, and create it.
Absolutely.
For Loft Enterprise, yeah.
Yes, and then you can basically see that in Access you've got all of those things outlined. Click on Save Changes.
So some people probably use the wizard for like a quick example, and they go in and they edit it afterwards. I mean, I know do that a lot.
And so now if we go in here and into global secrets, just reload with your user. Oh, it's configs. I'll have to give your user more permissions. Second.
And this is off the script demo, just trying to show like user configuration and like some of the security that goes in with just creating this. You're not just creating these and just giving it to everybody.
There we go. Advanced options access. I'll just give you. It's okay.
Just give me all.
I'll just give you all.
Okay,
never mind. I'm not going off script. No, I'm just kidding. So the idea is that if you would be querying now using the API, or you would use the Loft CLI that we have with Loft CLI, that is outlined here, you would be able to use it with the secrets path that we have and get it locally, or view the data yourself, as you would do with the Vault CLI. That's the old doc. So the idea is that you can then just fetch it using Loft secrets. Okay, it's not listed here, but there is a CLI command for that.
It's brand new, so some of the documentation was updated.
Yes. It's fresh off the press. It's not delivered.
A couple weeks old.
So the idea is that you can say, hey, I instead of having to write cumbersome policies in HCL, which are great, but if you are just a platform owner and you want to be able to say this team is allowed to use this global secret however they would like to, you can just do that. And you can then also just say, so instead of just giving like P view permission for the secret, we can give him permissions to also update it, which does make sense in this case, because it will get overwritten. So even if we would update the global secret within Loft, it would get overwritten with the data from Vault.
Yep, this is still syncing. It'll just, whatever the sync interval is, it'll pull down the information again.
Yes, but we can say that you're allowed to bind it and that you're allowed to sync it. So in that case, you would be able to say, hey, let's just get this global secret, put it into a vCluster, put it into a space, and you can use it like every other global secret without necessarily knowing where it's coming from, what kind of access controls were behind to obtain it. And for you, it's just as easy as saying, hey, so I have got my project and I just want to get something from global secret, and that's it.
Awesome.
But now I can also just have a project and let's say access the data at my project and that project secret. Let's actually take the nested one. So in here, we now have a nesting between the secrets engine that is called my project, a folder called interface, and then AWS. So the way you would now configure this within Loft would be just say that it's a KV2 secrets engine. You just specify that it's mounted, at my project. The secret path in this case is just interface/AWS. And that's it. So Oh, my secret already exists. Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, great. Everyone leave something default. So you just have like my secret. My previous job, it was
yeah, it was the previous one. I forgot. So now we can basically see. Oh, 1 second. I need to.
Yep. Give a second. Like I said, it's sinus season.
I'm sorry. Allergies are killing me. Yeah, look, I've got this thing. I'm hardcore. So the thing now is that we can see this has been pulled straight from Vault like a couple seconds ago, whereas the other one is just a global secret as anything else.
Okay.
But within the project, we now have got those project secrets, which are the key value that we have stored in Vault with AWS access key and secret key. And let's say somebody from the cloud team also says that we need to have some temporary key, AWS temporary key. I forgot. There's like a third environment rule that you can specify to have temporary access. But let's say those values need to rotate. Because we have configured 1 minute, in a couple of seconds, so between 1 minute and a couple of seconds, depending on when the last sync has happened, a new key should be appearing here with the values. But that's fine. So let's say we create a new virtual cluster. We're just not going to select any template. We're just going to create a blanket one with K3s. That's going to be pending, and that's going to be fine. So while this is still reconciling and is still waiting for a run to happen again, we'll just spin up a vCluster in the meantime, and also space. My space, perfect. And there we go. And now we can just head in here, go to secrets, and create a new secret. Now if we do that, we'll just have an empty secret, right? Because we didn't specify anything. We just have username and password, which is the default values. But what we can also do is first of all, delete it, and then just go into secret sync. And there's this 2 lines that we need to copy, which is basically labels for project secrets.
This is the name of the secret within Loft itself.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have this my
there
project secret. We can just go into our space, into secrets. We just create a new secret. Add the label, which was my project secret. Okay, and there we go. Now suddenly you have data 3. And if we look at the YAML, we now have got AWS access key, secret key, temporary key. And the values behind are just base 64 encoded, because Kubernetes encodes everything as base 64 when storing within secrets.
All right, so if you're using this and your users want to check this out, they need to look at the Vault docs and the secret sync.
Yes. Okay. So those 2 things are basically intertwined or intertwined with each other. Yeah, that's a correct word. Where you can combine and mix the match as you want. So now that we have the vCluster here, I can basically do the same. I'll just go into secrets, create a new one.
And then you're just doing the same annotation here?
Yes.
Cool.
I can say my project secret, and I'll just create a secret in the default namespace. Click on create, and the data should appear if I haven't misspelled something. But the idea is that you can just have those secrets, those blank secrets, as in the secret sync, with no value, with no data, with nothing, and then it just synchronizes into it, and that's it.
That's awesome.
You don't have to care, you don't have to mind. And if somebody updates it in Vault, like here with the temporary key, you can just go to your space, you can get your secret, and there you are, and it's updated. And you can have hundreds of spaces, and the secret sync is going to take care of updating it, whereas the Vault secret sync is taking care of updating it from Vault into your project or global secret.
So that's pretty cool, because if you're like automating vCluster with like Argo or something like that, you just set the annotation and reference where the key is, and then any vCluster comes up will. Is that part of templates yet? I don't know if that's in the templating for the cluster.
That's a good question. I would have to check that.
Okay, dropping some stuff. If it's not, that would be something interesting, I guess, in the future. All right, so that's pretty much the demo. That's kind of close to what you've already shown on the video that we had previously too. I think we're getting close to time here. Like, do you have anything else you want to add before I do our exit information?
No, I think for existing customers, if you want to just try out Vault and it's not yet in your license, just get in touch with Carl or with somebody from sales to enable it. And apart from that, I think that's all.
And hit us up on Slack too, and all that information. Well, thanks for joining us today, Tomas. Thanks for coming in and demoing it. It was a pretty cool demo.
Thanks for having me.
If you're interested, go ahead. No, it was pretty good. We got to look at some things that we didn't get to cover in the video, like some questions about like how to configure stuff, what it looks like for users, and just a little bit extra information. Even looking at the Vault UI a little bit more, which was nice. I was like, yeah, if you're interested in trying it out, just like Tomas said, head over to loft.sh and click Get Started, and then you can get started with Loft and you can try it out. If you're already using it, but you haven't joined our community yet, slack.loft.sh, and if you have any questions, you just ask in the Loft channel. We'll be happy to help you out. But that's pretty much our demo. It's recorded. If you missed anything, you can check it out on LinkedIn or on YouTube. But we'll see you again soon, and we'll have hopefully more demos. We'll demo the new thing you're talking about, I think in I don't know how many. I'm not gonna say how many weeks because I don't know how long it is, but I guess within the next like month or two, I think maybe. All right, cool. So we'll show that off then. But thanks for everybody for joining, and thanks again, Tomas. Have a good rest of your Monday.
Right. Thank you. You too.
Right,
bye. Bye.